So we have the standard draft or snake draft. That's pretty much the same thing. You would use it the same way. That's for categories. So let's start with the setting. So what you have to do first, you have to enter your number of players. So usually we'll just select like what's standard for mock drafts, for example. You have that. And you have here all your categories. So that's the standard 9 categories here. One thing about this is if you want to punt any categories, you would just turn that category off. So basically the tool here, the engine will not factor in that category as it looks to maximize and balance your categories. So you just use the scrolling menu here. We'll leave them on because there's really no point in punting any categories. You would punt categories if you want to simplify your task because it's easier to balance your team and all of that. But the engine is doing that for you, so just leave them on. But you can punt. That's just an option there. So here, the option you can select season total or per game average. So for example, Porzingis this year, Kawhi Leonard, Embiid are going to be way higher when you select per game average. That's just because they don't play that many games. They will miss a fair amount of games this year. What I like to do, or just come back to per game average, you would select that. That's your decision ultimately. You can select that if you expect those players to be, if you have, for example, playoffs, and you expect those players to play, that would be a big advantage to select this. But just to let you know, during the year, those players are not going to play as much, so your team might appear weaker. But if they're there for your playoffs, that's a really good advantage. So usually I just leave season total there. It's just you leave out like all the injured players, so I prefer that. So here you have your table one. That's your team. So every time we'll come back to this down there. But when you select a player, uh, my team here, yeah, we'll just do that. My team C, Shay's showing up there. Same thing if you do any players, it's gonna show up there. I'll just remove that for now. Um, and those two. So yeah, we're pretty much all set up for settings here. This you don't have this is for the engine. So as you can see, you can't click on it or anything like that. Yeah, so we'll just click once we're ready. Regen lineup. Wait a little bit. See here. I know my Excel is in French, but I think you can still like follow what's going on. So it's calculating all the optimal choices. So you see all the players here are all at the top pretty much. That's gonna change pretty quick because you're gonna get like those players, but um, they're gonna be drafted by other teams. So let's just start. I'll show you how you do it, or through the stats first, just in case. These are Z scores or Z scores. You see, like Shay's really good in points. Like you can see like what they're good at and what they're not good at. And here at the end, you see how many games they're playing. So for example, if you select per game, like I showed you earlier, per game average, um, they're gonna be really good. For example, I told you like people are not playing as much that are sitting games out or expected to be injured a lot and things like that. You're gonna see their scores is pretty high, but you want to compare, see how many games are they gonna play. So let's just see a player that's um, Embiid is projected to play 60 games. I think that's pretty high, but anyway, that's that. So you would, for example, you would do it. No, okay. So we select okay. Then all these players drafted, just for the sake of it, as other teams drafted. This. I don't know where about. We'll just do a couple of them. I know there's 10, 12, 14 teams in your league, but just to simplify this, there's a couple. So all of these players were suggested to you here, but they're not going to be available anymore. So you want to refresh that. So let's talk about this button here. So you do it as soon as you set up all your settings at first. Then every time you mark a player as your team, it's going to show up there. So you want to take that into account because see here, it's doing a mean of all the Z scores of players in your team. So there's only one player, so you see all these stats here are going to be exactly the same as this. And it's doing with projections that you include. It's doing a weighted average pretty much of all the players you have here and all the players that are suggested. So you would get this here is your fine. If you select everybody that's suggested here, that's what you're going to get. But now the data is a little bit skewed because we didn't refresh yet. So it's still taking into account all these players plus this one. So we'll just refresh. So basically, you hit the regen lineup every single time. When you draft someone, this is showing up in your team, and you want to take that into account. And you don't want this player to be suggested to you again. And you would click that button too when there's a player that's drafted, so you mark him as other team, and he was suggested to you. That player is not available anymore. So you want to take that into account. You want to regen. So every time a player is drafted, mark him. Other team, and then my team. So every time you draft a player, click that button. Every time a player that you mark as other team was suggested to you, meaning like the green dots here or yellow dots, so you see the rank. So here all the green players are really the best picks you could make. That's why you see 100% here. The yellow dots are still great picks. So go after, but first go after the green dots. As you can see here, the rank Giannis is a better choice than the Rosen, but you see the score here slightly higher on the Rosen. So I would suggest you pick the Rosen, but anyway, you're gonna refresh, and it's gonna pick players around the ones that you drafted. So let's just, for example, pick Anthony Edwards. See showing up there. See now it's making the average. So you see, just look at this one, 256. That's right in between those two. So it's doing the average. And now the projections, if we do this, we'll just refresh. Okay, 68%, 92, almost good. All right, let's see. Um, yeah, I clicked the second time. That's why it's gonna give us the same thing. Um, all right. So also the suggestions, if I need to mention it, see we selected 2 players and we still need 11 players. So you're gonna have 11 suggestions here. All the suggestions that are appearing in table 2 are always the amount of player that you still need and that are gonna balance well with the players you have already. while also maximizing your score here. So you see like your total score, or average score, this one. But it's going to try to maximize. See, that's for the engine here. It's trying to maximize the points of these suggested players. So you're really getting the optimal team here. You need that